Hello, folks. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. So, President Joe Biden today unveiled his so-called executive actions on climate.
Climate change is literally an existential threat to our nation and to the world. When it comes to fighting for climate change, I will not take no for an answer.
Yeah, existential threat, my foot. Anyway, a week ago, here was Biden's temper tantrum against Joe Manchin and the Supreme Court. Remember this? I will quote, "If the Senate will not move to tackle the climate crisis and strengthen our domestic clean energy industry, I will take strong executive action to meet this moment." End quote. A week earlier, he criticized the Supreme Court for deciding in favor of West Virginia and against the EPA. As you recall, the court said government regulators do not have enhanced power for wide-reaching economic impact regulations unless the Congress explicitly gives it to them in the form of statutory legislation. Well, folks, against all that Biden blarney that we heard, his announcement today was really a complete nothing burger. It was a bunch of small beers served in tiny cups that will barely be noticeable. So I'm relabeling his speech, quote, Supremes 10, Biden 0. He wouldn't take them on. He may threaten later. He may throw more Biden blarney and temper tantrums at us. But so far, it seems like he's beginning to realize that the Supreme Court took much of his radical climate actions away from him. And he's starting to figure that out. And that is okay by me because he's already done enough damage. Think about this. Yesterday, after all, was the one-year anniversary of Mr. Biden's proclamation that the 5.4% inflation rate last July would be temporary. Take a listen to this one.
Our experts believe, and the data shows, that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary.
Oops. The last reading for this June was 9.1% CPI, almost a double from a year ago. And if that weren't bad enough, for the fist bumper in chief, we are at the very least at the front end of a recession. It looks like the first half of 2022 will register a 1.6% average GDP decline with about an 8.5% inflation rate. That's why he has a 28% economic approval rating in the latest Quinnipiac poll. Not too good, eh? And here's a key point. Economic decline in the first half of this year has been caused by skyrocketing inflation. In no small measure, it's self-caused by Joe Biden's obsessive, near-religious war against fossil fuels. Energy prices jumped way up before anybody was thinking about Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. But all prices are rising across the board now. Energy, food, gas, new cars, used cars, housing, services, you name it. Too much federal spending, too much money printing, too much war against fossil fuels, too many regulations, too much big government socialism. The reason the economy is slumping is that the inflation tax has caused real worker wages to fall, real retail sales to fall, manufacturing is now declining, and housing is tanking. Interest rates have gone up quite a bit, especially in the mortgage market. They may be not quite at their highs, but it's been a tough first half of the year. This is the Biden inflation on the slumping economy. It's the inflation impact. The effects of the Federal Reserve tightening have yet to be felt on the economy. That's in front of us. So the great news is the Supreme Court seems to have shackled Mr. Biden's radical climate agenda. The bad news is the damage has already been done and will linger on for quite some time. Now, here's another thought. For the life of me, I'm going to be very sincere here. For the life of me, I do not understand why the Republican Party, which is likely to come into power again in the November elections, continues to throw in with Democrats and spend, spend, spend. They got sucker punched again yesterday when 16 Republicans voted for a motion to proceed on a nifty little piece of corporate welfare, industrial planning, and completely unnecessary semiconductor chip subsidies. It's bad enough that would have cost by itself, just the subsidies, $76 billion. Okay, that's bad enough. The refundable tax credit included in there which is really more government check writing to chip companies that don't hardly pay any taxes. That's bad enough. But now it turns out Mr. Chuck Schumer lured the GOP into a $250 billion trap with slush funds for energy, slush funds for Commerce Department, a doubling of the National Science Foundation, and a laundry list of additional spending items that, as yet, no one precisely knows. But coming off Capitol Hill, the ballpark estimate is $250 billion. $250 billion. 16 Republican votes in the Senate. You might ask, what about the pay-fors? Well, will you be shocked if I tell you there are none? So the inflationary federal spending continues, basically on a bipartisan basis. I just find this incredible. And this semiconductor Intel Corporation bailout is completely unnecessary. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later in the show. But my question is at the top, does anybody in D.C. want to stop spending? Does anybody in D.C. want to curb inflation? Does anybody care that working folks are suffering mightily because of Washington's fiscal extravagance? Right now, the answer seems to be no, no, and no. I'll tell you, folks, you know me, I like to be optimistic. There's a way out of this mess. Freeze domestic spending. Make the Trump tax cuts permanent. Call off the dogs in the war against fossil fuels. Stop this regulatory socialism and make sure that the rise in King dollar remains rising. In fact, what Ronald Reagan did 40 years ago, when I was a mere child and worked for him in his Office of Management and Budget, the Reagan anti-inflation plan was King dollar and tax cuts, sometimes called tight money and tax cuts. We're going to have Art Laffer on to talk more about those glorious Reagan ideas, which seem to be forgotten. Right now, the cavalry's coming. Yeah. The question I have is, will they know what to do?